And in 2026, holding space might be one of the biggest skills coaches are trying to develop without fully understanding what it means. This is such a misunderstood skill because what most people think holding space means actually works against creating trust, safety, and transformation. You see, most coaches are taught, either directly or indirectly, that holding space means being open, transparent, authentic, being deeply empathetic, feeling the feelings with your client, matching and reflecting their emotional state. And on the surface, this sounds great. But here's the thing. Clients don't need you to match their emotional state. They don't need you to feel everything that they're feeling. They need you to stay with yourself while they go through their transformation. So let's unpack what this means. So several years ago, when the coaching space was new, when people were first starting to get into it, coaching was a hot topic that gave people permission to learn, to grow, and to experience transformations outside of the therapy space. But in 2026, there's been a massive shift, and coaching is not the same as what it used to be. Not only from the coaches themselves, but also from the people who are looking for coaches. Clients are now more emotionally aware than ever before. Without getting into the amount of coaches there are, the amount of coaching spaces and programs that have just not been it, because clients are so used to people being coaches. I mean, come on, there's a coach left, right, and center in every space you go to. That means people are now becoming way more sensitive and way more attuned to who you are as a coach, how you come across, and what your energy is like. They're more aware of nervous system dynamics and whether or not you holding space for them is actually effective and working. They're more attuned to the cues that you're putting out and whether you are hyped up and selling the dream and a little bit full of fluff, or whether you're actually a deep, resonant coach who's able to create the type of emotional connection, emotional stability that they need to host that transformation for them. And so in 2026, clients are no longer responding to how confident or charismatic or emotionally expressive you are online. They're responding to how coherent you are and how steady you come across, both in your content, in your courses, and in your sessions. And so the most powerful form of holding space for others isn't about emotional mirroring. It's actually about your own emotional steadiness. So what is holding space? Holding space is actually your ability to stay regulated, to stay calm, to stay non-reactive and non-judgmental while someone else is emotionally activated, while they're stressed, triggered, upset. Fill in the blank here. You see, it's not about fixing your client. It's not about taking it off their shoulders. It's not about managing their experience for them. It's about being a calm reference point and being emotionally regulated for them to be able to self-soothe as well. And so here's where I see many coaches making this mistake. When you're working with a client that becomes emotionally reactive, when they're overwhelmed, uncertain, or overcome with sadness, grief, many coaches start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. They start to feel a little bit too empathetic, or they try to fix it right away. And so that might look like stopping the training, softening your language too much, leaning too far forward, speaking so softly like you're trying to soothe everything then and there, as if you're talking to a toddler. You start to over-validate and over-process the emotions with them. Despite how supportive you feel like you're being, this actually harms their transformation. Because rather than you remaining regulated and helping them work through the emotion they're feeling, you start to get succumbed into the emotion as well. And so yes, you do need to maybe soften your language a little bit. Maybe you need to slow down just a tad. But throwing everything out the window and diving into the deep end of their emotions can become counterproductive, because there's a difference between working through the emotions that are coming up and focusing on just the emotion and reliving the situation itself. And so if you're uncomfortable with the emotion, if you're uncomfortable with leading the conversation while your client's emotional, well, how can you expect them to work through it as well? And so if you want a simple way to start to learn to hold space for your clients more effectively, I want you to start with this. Next time your client becomes emotionally reactive when there's a tense or uncomfortable situation, before you respond, stop for a second and do a micro check-in and ask yourself, am I fully grounded and present and regulated in my own emotions? Or am I feeling uncomfortable and trying to jump in to manage the situations on their behalf? It's this micro check-in that will teach you to remain regulated yourself before trying to fix things for your client. It's simple, but it's extremely effective. Because if you notice that you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're braced, stressed, or just trying to get it over with as fast as you can, well, you're not in the right state to help your client either. And so that's when you start by grounding yourself first. Plant your feet on the floor, take a deep breath, stop fidgeting if you are, drop your shoulders and unclench your jaw. Get yourself regulated first so that you're able to lead the session and the conversation with way more grounded authority than if you're just trying to get over your own discomfort and help them rush through the process so that you can make yourself feel better instead. Because your job isn't to help them overcome every single emotion that they're feeling. Your job is to help them learn how to do it on their own. And you rushing the process because of your own discomfort is doing them a disservice. Rather, when you become grounded, when you become steady, when you demonstrate emotional regulation, that is when you become the intervention yourself and you teach them through example. When you are feeling uncomfortable and you're trying to control the situation because you feel like it's your job, it's your responsibility, and you want to show them that you're a good coach, well, that kind of pressure and uncertainty translates into the way that you show up as a coach. You see, when you're dysregulated, you speak differently. You ask more superficial questions. You rush the process and interrupt and interject to show them that you're bringing value. But when you're emotionally regulated, when you're able to stay calm, despite how uncomfortable you might be feeling, when you take the pressure off of yourself to fix everything immediately, well, that's when your voice stays steady. You're able to think, process, reflect, ask those deep questions, spot those patterns. Ask them a question that might make it even more uncomfortable for the greater good of their transformation. Because if you're uncomfortable asking the question, they're going to be uncomfortable answering. And so when you let them feel the feeling, process the emotion, and they see that you're calm, you're non-reactive, you're non-judgmental, you are their safe space. That is how they will feel safe to re-regulate, to process, and to do it all again. That's what holding space actually means. It's creating that environment where insight can land without force, without urgency, without discomfort. And so in 2026, I'm predicting that the most powerful coaches aren't going to be the ones that are showing up with hype online. They're going to be the ones who are most emotionally aware and emotionally regulated. See, holding space isn't just something you do with your client. It's something that starts with the way that you handle your own emotions. It's something that you need to maintain within yourself. And so when you learn to do that, the change, the shift with your clients happens without you having to try so hard. And so if this resonated, if you're a coach that's working on your presence, your communication skills, the way that you show up with your clients, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and check out the Coherence edit below. This is a community I've created especially for deep, reflective, emotionally aware coaches who know that they have value, who know that they're competent and have so much expertise to bring to their clients, but who still sometimes doubt the way that they show up. Because recording content can feel unfamiliar and uncomfortable, and saying things to a client is different than living through it yourself. And so if you want the perfect place to understand yourself, understand how you're coming across as a coach, and develop a way to show up authentically, emotionally aware and regulated, and still feel like you're being you online, then check out the Coherence edit. It might just be the perfect community for you. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.